Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. Today I thought I would do a quick video for February, which is Taylor's first ever readathon, and it is for the month of February, and it is for fairy tale retellings, which is not my favorite genre. I am reading one for Taylor's readathon, however. I will link her announcement video down below. And I chose a bunch of books from Kindle Unlimited specifically as options for this. One I owned from Stuff Your Kindle for the third quarter of 2023, so that was already on my Kindle. And I don't have a lot of luck with fairy tale retellings. I really don't. But that being said, I have started reading one of my choices, and it's working so far. My usual problem with fairy tale retellings is that they read too young, and I end up losing patience. There is a considerable age gap between myself and the intended audience. It is not a reflection of the book for the most part. It's just a reflection of where I, as a reader, am in my life. And I'm okay with that. So I'm going to give you 3 up front that I have read that I highly recommend. The first one is Wicked by Gregory Maguire. I've lent my copy out and has never been returned. This is the story of the Wizard of Oz, and it is told from the Wicked Witch's point of view. And I loved this book. I devoured this book. It is by far, in my opinion, the strongest book Maguire has ever written, and he spent the rest of his writing career attempting to recapture the magic that is Wicked. And yeah, Wicked is fabulous. If you're looking for an adult read, pick up Wicked. The next 2 books are part of a duology. I'll put their pictures right here. They are the Celestial Kingdom duology. It is a retelling of Chinese mythology, of which I, as a human being, knew nothing. So this was blank slate going into these books. The first is Daughter of the Moon Goddess, and the second book in the duology is Heart of the Sun Warrior. And if you watched my Bookmas videos, you will know that, or just my general review of Heart of the Sun Warrior last year. Heart of the Sun Warrior is the book that emotionally wrecked me by far the most in 2023. These are big chunky boys. They're 400 plus pages each. And they are worth the time investment. They are beautifully written, complex characters that will take you on an emotional journey. And if you didn't believe in love before the end of book 2, by the conclusion of book 2, you will. I will not say that they are romance. I will tell you that they are fairy tale retellings. Yes, there is romance in them. However, it is not the focus of the book. If you are looking for a strong female protagonist, this is the duology for you. If you are looking for epic adventure, duology for you. Want to learn something new and outside your normal comfort zone? Again, duology for you. I loved these books. They're fabulous. I got them at my library. It was an impulse pickup and don't regret it in the slightest. I really, really do not regret it in the slightest. And the fourth one that I will mention here, because it is based on Slavic fairy tales, is the Witcher series by Andrezj Sapkowski. However, this will come with a warning. These are adult. There is no question. None of these stories are meant for children. None of these books should be read by children, for children. I wouldn't even say they're appropriate for teenagers. There are some very dark events. There are some very dark things that happen. If you are looking for a clean story, do not read Witcher. However, they are beautifully written and translated. I can't speak for the veracity of the translation, but I find them beautiful. So I can easily recommend the Witcher series. I've loved every Witcher book I've ever read. I will always read a Witcher book. And it is a fairy tale outside of standard fairy tales that we all know. So those are 4 recommendations for books I have read. So now let's talk about the ones I haven't read, but I have on loan. Okay, so I grabbed my handy dandy Chromebook since I film on my phone, so I can talk about the books I loaned from Kindle and can read you their backstories. So I'll read you the one I'm currently reading, and it's probably my choice for February. And that is Becoming Hook by Mary Mecham. It is the first book in the Legends of Neverland series. And this is a fairy tale flipped. And I will read you the blurb. A pirate, a pixie, and a plot to foil Peter Pan. Do you need to know more? You do? Okay. James Hook never meant to become a pirate, and never dreamed that he would turn against best friend Peter Pan. Every adventure and eternal youth awaited them, until a pixie exposes a shocking revelation. Tinkerbell's information forces James into acknowledging that, far from being the benevolent hero he painted himself to be, Peter Pan was kidnapping innocent children. After accepting the traumatic loss of his hand and of the family he can barely remember, James deserts Pan. In the fight to rescue the Lost Boys, Hook will risk everything, even if that means becoming the most notorious villain in Neverland, or losing the fairy pixie who is stealing his heart. Can the original Lost Boy vanquish Neverland's greatest threat? I am about, I would guess, a third of the way through, and I'm beyond hooked. I know Katie over at Paperbacks and Ponytails read this last year and loved it. Several people have loved it. I can understand why. This is clean, secular fiction, and I am so here for it. I am just, it is truly, it does not read too young. It really does not read too young. And I was surprised, and pleasantly so, I might add. Okay, so now for the book that I own. That would be Rose by Morgan Dawson. Here's the photo. And this is the first book in the Oregon Ever After series. And it is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. And I will, it's a clean romance, by the way. And a Western. So, and it's short. It's 142 pages. Maybe I'll get this read this month too. Because, yeah, I don't have enough on my TBR. I might as well just toss something else on there. Rose grew up with the magic of her mother's storytelling. but has come to realize that happily ever afters might only belong within the pages of her books. After being sold by her cruel uncle, she's left to decide whether to flee from the frightening man who bought her, or take his offer of a journey of a lifetime. Duncan has scars, inside and out. Wanting a fresh start to escape the past that constantly threatens him, he decides just to take on the difficult adventure to Oregon. But when he comes across a young girl at an auction just before setting out, he has to make a decision that could have the power to change his life forever. Can love be found despite the trials of the trail? And can even the deepest scars find a way to heal? I am so intrigued. I so want to know. I want to know. It's only 142 pages. And I love the cover. So, yeah, I just committed myself to read another book in February. I'm insane. Okay, so another secular fiction. This is To Break a Silence by Lydia May. And it is a Little Mermaid retelling. And every book, starting with Rose, is available on Kindle Unlimited. Becoming Hook is available on Kindle Unlimited too. I'll read you the Goodreads blurb. A siren's song holds power over the skies and men. Stella has never seen the sky until the day she speaks her oaths and is brought to the surface. After her first encounter with a landwalker ship forces her to sing up a storm that pulls a prince into the water, she chooses to rescue him. When Stella's blossoming affection for the prince is threatened by another, she makes a choice to trade her fins for legs. The phantom glass in her throat, if she dares to use her voice, and in her feet when she walks. Captain Dylan Carvey is determined to have his revenge after a siren song cost him both his ship and his favored position as the prince's captain. While searching for signs of the siren, Dylan discovers a struggling maiden instead. Pulling a silent girl from the sea, he sees the perfect opportunity to gain his position back. A case of mistaken identity puts Stella right where she wants to be in the prince's palace. But unless she breaks her silence, continuing her charade may cost her the happiness she hopes for, and quite possibly her life. To Break a Silence is a retelling of The Little Mermaid. It is one of the 12 novellas of the Shattered Tales, a collection of 12 fractured retellings of your favorite fairy tales. And it is a whopping 216 pages. So, another short one. And I would classify the next three as Christian fiction. So the first one I know is on several people's TBRs this year, or they loved it. I believe it's on Amanda's TBR. I believe it's on Katie's TBR, or she's read it and loved it. That is The Huntress of Thornbeck Forest by Melanie Dickerson. I'll read you the blurb. A beautiful maiden who poaches to feed the poor. A handsome forester on a mission to catch her. Danger and love are about to unite in Thornbeck Forest. So, obviously, Robin Hood. The Margrave owns the finest hunting grounds for miles around, and who teaches children to read, but by night this young beauty has become the secret lifeline to the poorest of the poor. For Jorgen Hartman, the Margrave's forester, tracking down a poacher is a duty he is all too willing to perform. Jorgen inherited his pose from the man who raised him, a man who was murdered at the hands of a poacher. When Jorgen and Odette meet at the Midsummer Festival and share a connection during a dance, neither has any idea that they are already adversaries. The one man she wants is bound by duty to capture her. The one woman he loves is his cunning target. What becomes of a forester who protects a notorious poacher? What becomes of a poacher when she is finally discovered? It sounds very interesting. It's the first book in the medieval fairy tale series, I've heard nothing but positive things about Melanie Dickerson. My hesitation here is that it is categorized as young adult fiction, and that always just makes me pause. So the next two are very high on my list. So the first one is The Peasant Queen by Ashton E. Dorow. It is the first book, I believe, in the Royals of Akunai series. As I turn off the laptop. And this is Christian fiction and Christian fantasy. It is a little over 300 pages. And it is an Esther retelling. A king haunted by memories of his past. A young woman fighting against her future. Torn from her home and all that is familiar, Arabella of Calrith finds herself as the unwilling bride of King Rowan of Usenel, the man whose vengeful war stole her family. Bitter and confused, Arabella struggles to find her place in this new life. That is, until someone tries to kill the king. Despite repeated warnings to stay out of the matter, Arabella investigates the attempt on Rowan's life and his parents long ago murdered, unconcerned with the potential cost of her interference. But when tragedy strikes, the seriousness of the situation becomes all too clear. Is the price of knowing the truth higher than she is willing to pay? When the fate of the kingdom and all that she holds dear is at stake, will Arabella have the courage to stand up against the evil endeavoring to destroy them all? Did God really abandon her when he left her to this fate? Or was she put in the king's palace for such a time as this? This is labeled as Christian fiction, Christian fantasy at that. It sounds incredibly interesting to me, and I'm glad it's available and unlimited. It gives me a chance to try it. Last one on this list is A Trial of Words and Worth. It is by Amity Thompson. And it too is labeled as young adult fiction. So, this one's not Christian. It is loosely based on Grimm's tale, The 12th Huntsman. It's clean. So, I'll read you the blurb. Ordinary words. Extraordinary magic. Passable. The word echoes daily in Emmy of Stagmouth's mind. Never a failure, never a success, not good enough by far to lead her humble mountain realm. All changes as Emmy tends a handsome foreign stranger mauled by an unworldly monster. After exhausting her meager healing abilities, Emmy tells him a story of magic, hope, and truth. And he wakes. Little does Emmy know, her words contain magic as fantastic as the elder tales she grew up loving. But to earn a happily ever after, she must first find the bravery to speak. Experience the wonder and enchantment in this standalone fairy tale retelling. If you enjoy imaginative tales with loyal friendship, clean romance, and a mysterious foe, A Trial of Words and Worth will delight. And it's 424 pages. So, thicker than the others, but a standalone. We all love a good standalone. So, those are just a couple of choices that I've either read or have caught my interest for February. I know that there have been a bunch of videos published. I know Taylor has recommendations. I know those other videos have recommendations. I'm sure there's some overlap. I'm sure there's some people have never heard of. So, hopefully, we can all read one fairy tale retelling and make Taylor's first ever readathon an unmitigated success. I will be a pixie, undoubtedly, Taylor. But I'm good with being a pixie, much like Tinkerbell. If you've read any of these, if they're good, please leave a comment down below, like and subscribe. If you know of an adult retelling, please also leave that down below. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.